Weekly, GarageBand, GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly. Ooh. If you need an answer to your question, John, you'll have a suggestion. He's a fountain of all knowledge. I think he might have gone to GarageBand College. What he doesn't know, we'll try and find out. So join the chats and give him a shout. Hey, John. Hey, John. GarageBand Weekly.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to GarageBand Weekly here on Studio Live today. My name is Pete Johns, and for the next hour or so, we'll be chatting about all things Apple music creation, your GarageBands, your Logic Pros, your iPads, iPhones, Macs, and everything in between. We are 1 week from WWDC. I just got the new iPad Pro M4. There's a lot of exciting things on the horizon, despite what some CEOs of some music companies will say. Music creation requires a lot of effort, and we're going to put in some effort here today talking about it on the show. Got a few news and notes to start things off here, and then we are going to dive in, and I'm going to tell you my experience thus far with the iPad Pro M4. It's a thing. I'll tell you about it as we go through the show. But I do want to say a big thank you to everyone for being here, all the folks who are here live. If you do have a question and you're here live, all you need to do is this: put a big Q in front of your question and I will attempt to answer it. Or I will call upon the wonderful Brains Trust, the folks who hang out here around the channel, because it is not just about me, it's about everybody. We are a community. I am but your servant, connecting the community together. You can also go here, studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand. If you never have and you're a GarageBand user, I highly recommend you do, because this is our one-stop shop for all things GarageBand. You've got your GarageBand iOS FAQ. You can check out my Logic Pro stuff there. We've got the GarageBand 5-minute tip series you can check out. You can join all the communities, all the great Facebook groups and other places. And I got all these answers. I do need to update some of these. Not that GarageBand has changed a lot, but if you're trying to find out how to use a keyboard, how to use a mouse with GarageBand, how to reset GarageBand, how to screen record, how to share and export your files, it's all there. Your one-stop shop, GarageBand FAQ. Hello to the folks who are here live. I'll say good day to you, and then we will dive on in to our live show, because we've got a lot to go through here. G'day to Luis. I hope you are well. Hello, Rise of Dark Leela. G'day, Thomas Christ. Bonjour, Mark Bro. Hey, guess what? There's a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm a bit excited. And look, I know it's not your team, Mark, but it is pretty cool to see that. PT Pete, I know, the dope Gorillaz tee. I played a Gorillaz tune on my happy hour show for the first time ever on this week's show, and it went pretty well, if I do say so myself. G'day to Jade Star as well, and we had Mr. Formiati and Al Davis Music joining us nice and early. They were the early birds. They get the worms, or the koalas, as the case may be. Let's dive into the news and notes, and don't have a lot, because guess what? We're all of us Apple fan people are just sitting here twiddling our little thumbs, waiting for something to happen, and that is the Worldwide Developers Conference. We like to call it WWDC. Not that W, and not the WWF or the WWE, the WWDC. And the WWDC is all about Apple's developers. So it is a developers conference, but Apple have kind of set this precedent that every year they do a keynote at WWDC, and that's all about iOS, iPadOS, macOS, but they've also sprinkled in some hardware announcements. It's where the M1 chip was first announced, which I guess is more of a developer kind of thing. But we as consumers are now watching this and waiting with bated breath to find out what wonderful surprises will be in store. Personally, I'm hoping for Macs. Here's my ideal, here's my dream WWDC announcement. Tim Cook gets up there, he says, "Good morning, Pete, we have a new Mac Studio, which we've lowered the price, and iPad OS 18 will have much better file support. Cook out." Mic drop, and then he walks away. 30 seconds, and then I come on, I'm just like, woot. I can buy a new Mac Studio with an M4. It's going to be cheaper, and I can use iPad OS on my iPad and have it use files without causing me stress. That's really all I want. I'm a simple dude with simple needs, so that's what I would like. However, I will say that we're doing a show because, of course, we are. It just happens to line up that this is happening on is it Monday or Tuesday? Time zones are weird, man. I think it's Monday. It's Tuesday early morning for me, so it must be Monday afternoon over in Silicon Valley. So that means that I get up early, super early, 2:30 a.m. for me. I watch the show, I put together my notes, and then in the next week's show, of this very show at this very time, in exactly 7 days' time, you can join me and we'll talk about it. I'll let you know. Without all the superlatives, I won't be throwing in all the additional superlatives. So if you want to get all that, watch what is usually a 1 to 2 hour presentation from Apple. If you just want the facts, ma'am, tune in to me because I'll give you just the facts. We'll tell you what it means for you, what it means for creators. Is there any cool stuff that is going to be free that's going to be added to your iOS and your iPad OS and your Mac OS? And is there any new hardware that you might want to check out? So join me for that one and we will go good. So that is really all I wanted to talk about today. It's all WWDC related. Let me just check my notes. I don't think I have anything else. There you go. 1 p.m. Eastern is the WWDC. Thank you, Thomas. I can always rely on Thomas to have all the correct information. I'm just going to check notes real quick, make sure that anything that I meant to talk about, but I don't think so. If you while I'm pausing, if you'd like to hit the little like button down below, you're always welcome to. That is going to help out. Yeah, the other thing I have in there is the WWDC page from Apple, so that's where you can watch the full version or catch up with my review if you don't want to go to the effort of doing all that. G'day, Ross Edwards. Yes, I like it. I like the gorillas. They're good business. We've got a question that's come in here, which we'll answer. If you do have any other questions, please go ahead and ask those. Hello, Big Howlin' Coyote. I hope you are well. And yes, if you'd like to become a member, you can also do that. You can join and become a member. We did have some new members. It's not going to show me here. That's unfortunate. We had a couple of new members, but you know who you are. So thank you. Just $2, $2 a month, and you can become a member. Mr. Fomiati, how do I do multi-track virtual drummer in Logic Pro for iPad? How do I do multi-track virtual drummer? Maybe you're referring to when you are in Logic Pro. So if you're using the drummer, let's just do a quick squiz. We're playing with the new one. This is the Logic. This is the new iPad Pro M4. Isn't it exciting? Looks just like the old one. I know. It's exactly like the old one. So let's just jump in here. We're going to go and create a new project in Logic Pro in my folder here. We'll go into the tutorials folder and we'll create a project and we'll go into tracks view. So you're meaning if we have a session player here. Well, the way that the session players are designed is that they'll all be on one track. So you basically you have multi-tracks, sort of, and you can control things like your drum kit designer here, where you can actually dial in the different kit pieces and control them. So yeah, you can control, like, for instance, your volume and your panning. Is it panning? Do you get panning in here? No, maybe not. But you can definitely control your volume and your gain and your tone and your thing for all your different drums using the drum kit designer. That's there in your plugins. But if you're thinking, I want all of these on separate tracks, what you need to do is actually split them out. So if you've dialed in your drum kit and you've got it as it was, let's see if my audio is working here. Nope, of course it's not, because that's the other thing I want. While I'm listing things I want Apple to do, an audio system where when you plug in an audio interface, it doesn't just assume you want the HDMI output, because who would ever want, if you've got an audio interface plugged in via USB, who would ever want to use HDMI audio? What do I have to do? I have to turn off and back on my audio interface so that it recognizes it. It's a pain in my butt, and I wish this would be fixed, because Mac doesn't have this problem. Mac, you just set it and forget it. See, there you go. Now I've got the Steinberg audio interface. So I say all that to say, here is my drum. Yo-yo. So once you've got that dialed in, you can actually split it out. So if we tap on here and we go to convert, you can convert to a MIDI region or to a pattern region. So MIDI region is probably your best bet. And what you've got now here is one drummer track with all of your drums. So all the different drums there, and you can play around with those. But the other thing you can do is actually convert these to separate by note pitch or by articulation. So if we do say note pitch, this will split out each individual drum kit piece onto its own separate track. So depending how many drum kit pieces you have, you'll have a track for each. So if that's what you're referring to, Mr. Formiati, that's basically how you do it. But the problem here is you then can't go back and reconfigure it because you've lost your ability now. These are just MIDI tracks now. So you really need to, if you wanted to control these separately, you need to dial in all your drums with a drummer and then go from there. What you can do is if you are not sure, like if you're sort of on the fence, we'll just undo these. You could duplicate this. So you can duplicate that drummer and then put this session instrument here. So we'll just copy it and paste it down here. So anything that you've done so that you can kind of keep a backup, I guess. So you keep a backup of your original session drummer and then convert this one. So this way you're converting this to your MIDI region and then you can split this out by your articulation this time. And then, yeah, you're good to go. So there's a couple of options there, and that way you can just mute this one out, play around with these, separate these, because then this gives you the ability to do things like, panning. You want a really weird and wacky drum sound, you can just pan things around to the left and the right. There's a video that Jade Star did about if you want to have much more control over the separation of your drums. So search Jade Star Logic Drum Hack or Logic Drum Split or Logic Drum Separation if you want to learn how, because there's another step you need to do if you want to make sure that these aren't all kind of joined together. See how you move your volume and they all go together? Yeah. I don't know if it's actually a bug or a feature. I would say it's a bug, but yeah, you need to actually split these out. But to be very honest with you, I tend to just use the session drummer now because it sounds good and it gives you enough control over what you need, in my opinion. But there's a few options for you. All right, still downloading, I see. Yeah, so I'll talk about this. When I jump into things, I will talk to you all about my experience. I'll give you the whole story. I'll just check and make sure that we have no other questions. We've got a few comments here. Hello, Jade Star, who's... yeah, I'll talk about this too. I'll talk about Macs and getting storage space. My prediction, don't expect too much from the hardware. Yeah, a lot of the leakers, which is a weird word because leakers sounds like you need some adult continence devices. Yeah, my prediction, don't expect too much. I'm kind of thinking that too. I think they might, here's what I think. Realistically, they'll say M4 is coming to desktop, but they'll give no details on to what and when. There'll be a thing with the guys in the labs in the white coats looking all clean and tidy, and they'll say M4, our latest and greatest chip, is coming to the Mac. Watch this space. We will announce these in July. That's what I reckon. Or spring. They love using seasons. It's not a thing we do here in Australia. You wouldn't go, it's coming this summer. Like movie blockbusters, they're like, this summer, Die Hard 7, enough already. Yeah, we don't have that. When's it coming? October. Let's just say October then. Yeah, do not buy 256 gig. Friends don't let friends buy Macs with 256 gigabytes of storage. I've had to disable all the iCloud drive sharing stuff on this Mac just to get it over the line. And look, if they don't announce a new Mac at WWDC or that's coming before the end of June, I'm probably just buying one anyway, and then just having to live with the regret that I could have gone to the M4 because of reasons I'll talk about in a moment. I'll thank you, Leela. Yeah, Jerry Clemons and ET4 Home are the new members. Thank you. Yeah, it shows it in YouTube land, but not here in my StreamYard deck setup. When I can get my new Mac, it will be 4 terabytes. Yeah, look, at least a terabyte. For pretty much anything. My new kind of recommended minimum specs is mobile device, iPhone or iPad, 512. I think 256 even for a mobile device. You feel it so fast these days. With video, with audio, you feel it too fast. So 512 minimum for mobile. and 1 terabyte minimum for desktop or laptop. And I know it costs more. I have the same pain points because I don't want to spend more. But yeah, they're assuming you have a monitor hooked up with speakers. Yeah, and that's the thing, and that I understand it. Like, and Thomas is talking about the connection here, where it just assumes what you're using. So I'll show you where this is. So if you swipe down from the top right of your device and you go here to your little music section, this is where you select your audio device. So before, and now I can't even go back to HDMI. So it's super clunky. It just replaces the last one. And there's no way to say, this is my default device. Always use this device with the universal audio here in iOS. At least I think not. At least I haven't found a way. This is where someone usually says to me, well, actually, John, if you go to the settings section under advanced, extrovert, then you can dive in there and do it. M1, 16 gig, 1 terabyte, and everything works fine as long as I keep the library. See, and that's the thing. Yeah, keep your library on an external SSD even is a pain in the butt, isn't it? Well, not really, I guess. Not really. Leakers need to plug their leak. Well, there you go, because leakers need to plug their leak, which is actually a cool double meaning thing, because leakers plugging a leak is like plugging, like promoting their leak. Plugging, oh, you get it. You get it. There you go. There's the Logic Pro drum hack from Jay that we talked about before. WWDC, usually more software focused. iOS 18 stuff will probably be the star. Yeah. And yeah, before we move on, let's let's just talk about AI and the shift. Because if you've listened to Apple talk in the past, they've talked about neural processing. They've talked about machine learning. They've talked about having all the different cores, their high performance cores and their efficiency cores on their processors and on their graphics processors. They have stayed away from using AI or artificial intelligence in everything for as long as I've been covering Apple, at least the last 5 years. Maybe the early days, Steve Jobs threw a few AIs in. We don't know. Well, we could know if we went back. But in recent times, they've basically said, okay, the AI train has left the station. If we don't hop on board, we're going to be left behind. So now AI is being used. But you'll notice so far, they're not saying it has AI. They're saying this is our best laptop ever for AI. This is our best iPad ever for AI. Slight difference. So I'm wondering, is WWDC going to flip that script and they say, not only is this for AI, this has AI. This has this built in, because that's what everyone's looking for, right? Yes, all of these AI engines, your Chat GPTs, your Mid Journeys, your Udios, they're all fine and dandy, but do you know how much processing power they're using? Yeah, every time you click a button and it goes off and does a thing in the background, sure, it's not using your processing power, but it's using processing power somewhere else. So it is using massive amounts of energy, there's servers, there's banks of servers with GPUs and CPUs that are heating up to hundreds of degrees so that you can make that song about farts on Udio. Like that's what it comes down to. So if Apple get up there and say, we've built in these models, we've got a brand new Siri and she lives on your phone. Sure, she might take up 7 gigabytes of your phone, but she lives on your phone and she does everything that these models can do, but it's all on device, using low power and completely carbon neutral. That's the play. Mark my words. That's what we're going to hear. Something like that anyway. Alrighty. Yes, yeah. Mobile is a different game indeed. All right, let's dive in, shall we? Feature topic. So, let me grab my boxes. So, as you know, my journey with the iPad Pro started when I bought my own iPad Pro. This is the first. I had a first generation iPad Pro, but this was my baby. I bought this one 2020. The second generation of the iPad Pro with Thunderbolt, with USB-C, and I loved it, and I still love it. And then a year ago, Apple said to me, they said, Johns, we've got this thing called Logic Pro for iPad coming out, and we'd love to let you borrow an iPad Pro M2 to play around with on Logic Pro for iPad. And I said, sure, Let's do it. So they sent me that out, and that's what I've been using for the last year here on the channel. A year came up, and they said, we would like that back. And I said, no problem. You got that shiny new iPad Pro M4, and if there's ever an opportunity for me to take a look at that, I wouldn't say no. And they said no. But then eventually they said, yeah, okay, here's one. So I was given this as a loan. This is 100% a loan, and I say that up front because not too many, but I see too many folks on YouTube channels and promoting things where they're like, oh, and here it is. And they do this big editorial thing, and you're like, hang on, is that an editorial? Is that an advertorial? Did you pay for it? Did you not pay for it? Are you being paid? So right up here on Front Street, not being paid. Given this as a loan, don't get to keep it. Have to send it back, just like I sent back every other Apple product that I've had on loan. And Apple do not tell me anything that I can and cannot say. So this is all opinion, and this is all my own opinion. So if that is clear, we can dive in and move on. So iPad Pro M4. And here's the thing. I've got this split personality thing because I went from the 11-inch. I chose the 11-inch. And I loved it for the portability. The screen size was a little on the smaller side. I then went to the 13-inch. I loved it for the screen size, never took it anywhere. Portability was almost removed because it was bigger and clunkier. Now that we've got the thinner and lighter ones, I've got the 11-inch again. So it's interesting. It'll be an interesting journey. And as you know, if you know me, you know, and I put a positive spin on things. I get it. Yes, would I have preferred the 13? Yes, I'll be honest. But I put a positive spin on this because I'm actually kind of enjoying using the 11 again because it is so thin and light. And when I just pick it up, I'm actually just able to grab this and take it with me places. And that's not something that I did with the last one because this is the kind of the perfect size for using in your hand. I don't know about you, but the 13-inch, I never used it in my hands. I only ever used it docked, and I only ever used it with my keyboard and mouse. And that's probably the best way to use it when you're creating music. But for me now, I'm actually taking this places. It's a bit scary because, again, it is on loan, but I'm taking it places. So my first impressions when I unboxed it, and by the way, if you are a Patreon member, a patron, or if you are a member of the channel, you got to see me actually unbox it. Enough people had done the whole professional unboxing with the B-roll shots, and not only am I too lazy to do that, but I'm, I don't want to replicate things. I want to put a whole lot of effort into something that Marquez Brownlee and Brian Tong and others do a lot better anyway. So I didn't do that here on the channel, but I did it behind the scenes for the members and the patrons. So you saw the process I went through, took it out of the box, and yes, it has the Apple Pencil on there, which we'll talk about separately in a moment. But yeah, the changes on this is that you've got your camera, which is positioned at the top here. That's a good change, but what has that done? Well, it's meant that the magnets up here have changed, and we played around with it. I tried to put the old pencil on this one, and it doesn't stick because the magnets are in completely different places, whereas the new one, notches on there perfectly. So, that's something to consider there. But is it good because now when I'm using it that way, which, let's be honest, I use my iPad 99% that way. There's a few apps. It used to be the Visibel app. Does anyone use the Visibel app from Clevegrand? It was only when I was using the Visibel app that had to be in that mode. And by the way, did you hear? Apparently there's a bit of a behind the scenes thing with Apple because some of the folks at Apple think that this should now be tipped around, that all the graphics on here should all be flipped around because no one's using it that way anymore. Everyone's using it like that. So that's interesting. We'll see whether the Apple logo remains that way around or changes. The other major changes on this is that you can see it's more sort of molded, the molded aluminium around the camera there. You don't have that separate sort of sticky outy glass bit of camera that you have on the older ones. So that's very nice. It's sort of more of a single formed piece of aluminium, and it does feel very nice in the hand. They made the comparison that saying that these are the lightest product that has ever been the thinnest product that Apple have ever produced. And this is the 11-inch, and it's actually thicker than the 13-inch. Go figure. So this one is just over 6 millimeters thick, 6.4 millimeters thick. And I thought There is no way that this is thinner than my iPod Touch 7th generation. This thing is like a wafer. And then I put them up next to each other. And yeah, thinner by about a millimeter. Not even, by like half a millimeter. So yeah, it's actually thinner than my iPod Touch, which I thought was all but impossible to be the case. Same stereo speakers there and on there, so that is good. So you actually get decent quality audio because you've got speakers on both sides, which means even when you're not using an audio interface or speakers or headphones, it's all good. And that single solo port there, that's a USB style port. It's a Thunderbolt port though, so that can plug in your high speed devices as it could with the previous models. That's it. As far as that goes, the cosmetic changes are lighter, thinner. Oh, and one final thing, reduce the number of cameras. Even my 2020 iPad Pro had the second camera on there. They've removed that, but they've improved the flash. So here's the, by the way, there's that slightly different kind of exterior part there. You can kind of feel an edge there, a little glass bit there. It's not all molded in there. So that is the difference. And you have the wide angle lens on this one as well. Whereas the new one, they've removed that, which I don't hate because who uses this? Apart from like grandparents at birthday parties. Smile. Sorry, Mum. Apart from that, very few people use the camera on their iPads, especially an iPad Pro. And I think if you look back to 2 releases ago, Apple were talking all about how, yeah, people are going to start shooting with iPads. And when they released like Final Cut Pro, they had people with giant rigs with iPads in them, and the iPad camera was going to do all the capturing, and then it was going to do it all, and it was going to record the video to an external SSD, and then you're going to edit from the external SSD. Not that they allowed that in Final Touch. Did in LumaFusion. Final Touch is apparently adding that soon. So we'll all see. Excuse me. So yeah, so that's the iPad Pro M4, and that was my sort of first impressions, touching it and feeling it. The keyboard. So let's talk about the Magic Keyboard, and we'll get into my actual performance stuff, but I've literally been using it for 3 days. So you'll have to stay tuned to the channel because I'll be using it as my daily driver. So we'll find out about that. The keyboard, here is the Magic Keyboard. It is fairly similar to the keyboards of old. I thought originally it had a bigger trackpad. Turns out it doesn't when I compared it to the older model. So, but the trackpad is nice and wide there. Decent amount of vertical space as well. The big change with the keyboard here is this, the row of function keys. Now, I know some people will say, I don't need the function key. I can use the touch screen. I can use the command center, control center. I can use that for everything. I didn't realize I needed this until I got it. I know. I don't want to say that because I want to say to you, you don't need to buy this. That's cutting to the chase. I want to tell you, you don't need to buy this. But the function keys there just for very simple things, brightness, volume, an escape key. You're just in something and you just want to get out. Like the amount of time I use my escape key on my Mac and my PC is ridiculous. So the escape key there. So it's simple things in there. And I'm sure you can probably program these to do lots of fancy things, even just to lock the iPad. Again, if you just want to quickly go bump, you can just hit the top right corner and it just goes into lock mode. So there are a lot of things that the function row does. Do you need it? No. Is it a quality of life improvement that's nice to have? Yes. The other major changes, they've changed this sort of bottom base bit here. So for those that have had a Magic Keyboard before, you can see it's now kind of this tube along the bottom there, as opposed to the other one that was kind of more form-fitting. And this part here is less sort of rubberized and plasticky. It's still sort of a little rubber rim around the top here and along the back there, but apparently these aren't going to wear as much as the other ones. The one I had before, the white one that's now in its box, ready to go back to Apple, that is looking pretty scuffed. So I would recommend getting a black case. I know the white ones, white, it's cool, but it does mark and it does show a lot more than others. Have I got the wrong? Why is this not going back on this thing? Go to your home. That's your home. I'm pretty... Okay, I was just trying to put the wrong iPad. This is the problem. These aren't actually that different. By the way, there's the comparison. There's the thickness comparison of the two. It's not actually that much thinner, is it? But yeah, I was trying to put my old iPad on the new Magic Keyboard, and it said no. So I'll put that to the side. Right, so that's your iPad Pro M4, and that's your iPad Pro, the new Magic Keyboard case. We'll talk pencil in a sec, but I'll say g'day. We'll check in with folks who are here live. Hello to Dingo Craft. Yeah. Does anyone use it vertically? I'd love to hear use cases for when you actually use it vertically. I mean, for us as musicians and video and audio folks, I guess most of the stuff we do is going to be in the landscape mode. Do I have the two? Yes, so it is. It's the 2 terabyte model, so it does have the extra processors and the extra RAM. So it's 16 gigabytes of RAM and the extra processors as well, which is nice. Yeah, just always horizontal. I've always got it landscape mode. Dingo Craft says, I bought the old iPad right before the new one's launched. Don't feel so bad, honestly, and I'll talk about why in a minute. I think you'll be okay. I really do. We'll talk about that. Who's watching? I am. Hello, Trevor Pear. Hello, Joe and Barry Glenn. Hope you're better. Final Touch is back? I don't think so. But, I mean, it's still there. I still use Final Touch, to be honest, occasionally. But, yeah. They could probably make exactly. They could make a discount iPad without a camera. Yeah, I reckon so. So Final Touch is a mastering app for iPad. It still works fine on my iPad Air 2, not M2, iPad Air 2. Still works fine on my old iPad Pro. Every time I get a new iPad, I sort of check it, and it usually works. Yeah. Why is this for GarageBand Weekly? Doesn't have much to do with it. Yeah, I thought about that. I did think about that just this morning, in fact, and I'm like, I don't know if it's kind of one of those things where you start with one concept and then you expand out. But it's been GarageBand Weekly for so long, I don't know that I could feel right calling it anything else. And let's be honest, we will and always do once the new hotness is talked about for a few weeks. We always go back to GarageBand because GarageBand's awesome. So yeah, I thought about like Apple Music Creator Weekly. And that's the thing, GarageBand Weekly just sounds like cool. It just sounds short and sharp and shiny. But if you've got ideas like Apple Creator Weekly, Apple Musician Weekly, AMW, I don't know. If you've got ideas, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, it does look cool. Like the Magic Keyboard does make the iPad look like it's floating. The first time I saw it, I'm like, that's a myth. That's like what do they call it? It's a little trick. It's like a little, I can't think of words today. But then I'm like, no. Yeah, exactly. And as we'll talk about in a moment, why you don't need this if you're a GarageBand user is probably the number one. That's the clickbaity headline. If I wanted to be a clickbaiter, I would go, why you don't need the new iPad Pro M4. And yeah, plenty of people are doing that as well. Yeah, simple. Well, there you go. Yeah, gaming, simple, easy old people games, and I guess I do that on my iPhone. So when I'm playing my simple old person games, and don't knock the simple old person games. I do my Wordle every morning. I do my Duolingo every morning, and then I play the lame games. I don't pay for them. I'm not a pay to play. I'm a free to play player. But I play your Royal Matches and your Match Masters and whatever they tell me to play. I do that. Hello, Mexicano. Welcome aboard. Love seeing folks from all parts of the world. Yeah, it really does. It encompasses kind of everything because GarageBand's kind of not moving that much. So yeah, we'll do that. GarageBand works very well on my iPad as long as you have one with USB-C, 100%. And let's actually we'll talk pencil and then we'll come back to my thoughts on performance and things. So the Pencil Pro is a new pencil, and as you may have seen, it has a few new features. It has squeeze, and there's a haptic little click when you squeeze. Can we hear it on the mic? So it's not a loud click. It's just kind of you can more feel it. And it's a haptic thing, so it's not a physical thing, but you can feel the haptics. You can also use the barrel roll rotation thing, so it's got some cool new features and it works well. Do I use this a lot? No, I really don't. But if I did, I would be able to. Let's fire up. What is it called? What is the thing that Apple have with their boards? I was playing with it the other day. and now I can't remember. It goes to show you how often I use it. Because I was drawing stuff. I'll play with this because I've just installed GoodNotes on the recommendation of someone. I do need to sign in, so bear with me a moment. It's a professional at work here, people. Just going to sign in with my Google account. This is one of the things that when you install a new thing, the amount of things you have to then sign into is a bit of a pain in the butt. I'm not going to lie to you, because it does. Oh, see, now I've got to check my device. What is it prompting me on? Open the Gmail app, and I've got to say, yes, it's me. But yeah, this is one of the things when you get a new device, give yourself a couple of days. If you're in the middle of a new, like I say with your iOS updates, if you're in the middle, yes, it's me. If you're in the middle of a major project, it's not the time to buy a new device, because it's going to take you a good 48 to 72 hours to get everything set up on the new device like you had on the old device. So things like just entering usernames and passwords that don't carry over. Things like downloading sound packs. You might have seen I've been downloading a bunch of sound packs for GarageBand and for Logic Pro because they're not there either. All right. I've definitely read the privacy policy, and I would not like to receive marketing offers. All right. My account's been created. I'm going to sync across my Apple devices. I'm a other professional. Sorry, I'm just setting up this app. Oh, God. I don't want to do this. What industry am I in? I'll show you this on the screen just so there's something. Because someone recommended GoodNotes to me. I'm in the entertainment industry, baby. You know how it is when you're in the entertainment industry. Try it for free. Oh, it's a 1-week trial. You know what? I'll do this because I'll show you something cool that you can do with a 1-week trial. I'm going to start my free 1-week trial here. It's going to go to my payment section. Oh, it's going to have to... I'm going to have to sign in here as well. Bear with me a moment here while I just sign in to my Apple account, which I'm baffled as to why it wouldn't be signed into, because I'm signed into my iCloud, but that's okay. I'm just going to sign into that one, and I will buy this, and I'll show you a little sneaky hack. So all I've done here, so it's $14.99 per year. I'm going to 1-week free trial. I'm going to double tap to buy it, which again, I know you can't see. And if you've ever done this, so many of you have probably done this before, wrong button. Many of you have done this before, where you've signed up to a free trial. Here's the thing, free trial, you're all set, your purchase was successful, it's doing all the thing, and in a moment, and look, I've heard that this is good, so I may stay with it, but I'm going to do the free trial anyway. Let's just start a new notebook, and oh look, you can do cover and paper. Let's just do square paper. Let's create a new notebook. All right. Swipe with 2 fingers to flip pages, and would like to use Bluetooth for the Apple Pencil. I'm going to allow it. All right, and we'll play with this in just a moment. Oh, it hasn't. That's weird. It's changed to just showing it's showing the full app on my screen, but on your screen, it's not. It's just showing the page. That's interesting. Let me show you something cool though. Let me see if this is going to work if I come back out here. Go to my settings app. Yep. All right. So once you've done that, once you've signed up to something, here's what I want you to do. Go into your settings app, go into your subscriptions, and you will find it in here. It will be in here. So here's all my subscriptions, my active and my inactive one. Here's GoodNotes that I've signed up for a year, renews on the 10th of June. If I come in here and I go cancel the free trial, if you end your trial now, you and your family will still access it until the 10th of June. So see what's happened here? I'm going to confirm that. So what's happened here is I've cancelled that free trial. So now it won't auto-renew in a week. You know how there's that thing where, did it actually cancel? Oh, it didn't confirm. Hang on, continue, confirm. There we go. Your subscription is expiring soon. So this is the way that I go with things. When you're subscribing to things on an iPad or an iPhone or a Mac, you can do this. If the subscription is through Apple, you can do this. And look, I know I feel for the developers because this is what I do to try something out. But I also don't feel that guilty because many of them don't even give you a warning. When you get to the end of that first week, it just, bang, it clicks in. If they sent me an email the day before saying, hey, your subscription's about to renew, would you like to do that? Just letting you know it's going to auto-renew, I'd be like, cool. But they don't. So I don't like the feeling of entrapment of the fact that they've tricked me into doing it. So therefore, I choose to do it that way. So yeah, and it's much easier to do it if you do. And again, if I love it and I want to come back in here, all that will happen is the day 7 where I sign in and it says, "Oh, your subscription's expired," and I'll go, "Oh, okay, I actually wanted that." I come back in here, I hit that one button, and I'm back at it. So just a little tip for young players there. Let's go back here and look at this. So I wanted to show you some of the features here of the Apple Pencil here using GoodNotes. So one is if I click, it's going to, oh, see, it's not showing it. I wonder if I can, is that because it's showing it as Stage Manager here? Screen, no. See, this is a problem because what I can see on my screen has all the little things on there. So when I'm clicking this, it's bringing up a little rotatable action tool where I can change the thing that I'm using, but it's not showing you any of that. So this is why I'm not this sort of person. Let's see if we can just find, if we've got a highlighter here, can we show the rotation stuff that we can do? Yeah, see, this is a round nibbed highlighter. I need something that's got texture to it. It's a good idea. It's a great idea to use an app you've never used before when you're doing a live demonstration, especially if it's something that's outside of your general wheelhouse. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to show it. But basically, when you twist your finger around, you can actually make it do that. If it was not a circular thing, you can make it move around. And the other thing you'll notice there is it puts, see, you're not even seeing this, but it adds a little shadow. I'll have to find a better way to show you this. The Apple Pencil Pro, though, pretty cool. It does a lot of things, and if I was a more visual type person, I would probably use it a heck of a lot more. But you're not here for visual stuff. You're here for things like Logic Pro. Yeah, I recommend doing it. Hello Heart Tunes TV, still using a Gen 6 iPad with 128. Need a good upgrade. Well, here's a couple of things I'll talk about. When Apple announce and release new hardware, the older stuff gets really, really cheap. For instance, I'm probably going to sell my iPad Pro from 2020. It's still a great unit. It's in excellent condition. Anyone want it? But it's excess to my needs right now because I have this one on loan. And if I'm going to buy another one, I'm probably buying the iPad Air at this point in time. The iPad Air is really, really good. In fact, when I was getting a demo, and all I can tell you from that is that Apple demoed the new iPad Air and the iPad Pro. The Air looks like the sweet spot to me. The M2 chip from the last iPad Pro still can have a 13-inch screen now, which was the big downfall of the iPad Air. I think Apple have realized that there's people that want good but don't need ridiculous. That they just want something that's going to work really, really well. And of the, again, 3 days I've been using this new iPad Pro, it hasn't felt much different. The iPad Pro with M2 was so snappy, was so good, that having something with M4, it does feel a little bit like overkill. Now, the proof will be in the pudding, which is that when I start creating really big, complex tracks, which we'll have a bit of a play with here in a moment, when I start doing that, well, then maybe I'll realize that when you're running like a whole bunch of session instruments and a whole bunch of the Chroma Glow plugin, then yeah, it really starts using that 16 gigabytes of RAM and really starts using all of those performance and efficiency cores. But for everything that I've done so far in Logic Pro, look, I think if you were in video, it would be a bit different. I think the video stuff, if you're using 4K and 8K video streams, yeah, you want to max out, you want the maximum amount of power. But for audio, 24-bit or even 32-bit float with 100 tracks of audio. When the M1 came out, people were like throwing Logic Pro on it on the Mac and just putting like 100 tracks with like 100 plugins, and it was just absolutely doing fine. So I think unless you're using really high-end gear, really high-end software, you're doing really, really complex stuff. Like we're talking like, what's that, grammetry stuff where you're using 3D models, or you're doing lots and lots of really high-resolution video. I think for your audio use, M1 is great. M2 is ridiculous, and M4, for many folks, is going to be overkill. That's my view right now, though. The good news is you don't have to shell out the cash. You can just sit back and watch me. And I'll tell you, if I start noticing differences, the good news is I've been using the M2 daily for a year, and now I'm going to be using the M4 daily for a year. So instead of the people that do the quick comparisons and show you the charts and say, I think this is better than this for reasons, you'll get me telling you because I'm going to be using it, and you'll be seeing me use it right here on the channel every single day. So there's that. Trevor Bear says, I purchased an iPad Pro M2 a few months ago for a lot less, open box, waiting until fall or winter to get the new iPad. Yeah, and that's the thing. Well, I was saying all that to say, you really don't need to buy the latest and greatest. In fact, the refurbs from Apple are a great buy. If you can go to your Apple store and you say, hey, do you have any refurbished models of the last model of things? You'll be amazed. They're not dirt cheap. They're not as cheap as if you buy it on eBay, but if you buy it on eBay, I don't really know the history of that thing. And even though eBay has some levels of buyer protection, if you buy from Amazon refurbished, better. If you buy from Apple refurbished, best. So that's the way I'd go. Dodgy Brothers to start with, like Craigslist, some dude in the park, something like that is kind of your fourth level. Your third level is like eBay, because at least you got a little bit of protection there, especially if you use something like PayPal to buy it. Then Amazon, because as much as people have views on Amazon, they actually stand by their products and have good return policies. And then Apple, because especially if you do it in an Apple store, you're eyeballing someone and you can say to them, hey, you better not do bad by me. If this is a lemon, I'll be back here. And they'll be like, no, sir, ma'am, I assure you it's not a lemon. It's an iPad. It is. All right, should we play around with it? Should we mess about? All right. So this is the iPad Pro M4 11-inch. Now, the first thing you'll notice if you've been watching me use Logic Pro is less screen real estate. I admit it, there's less screen real estate. So if you start layering up a bunch of stuff, it gets a little busy and hectic in here, I'm not going to lie. But if you're like me, I only have one pane open at a time. I really hate clutter. So when I'm using something like Logic Pro for iPad, I will only ever be doing one thing at a time. I'll only ever be dialing in my drummer, or I'll be playing with my plugins. And I like to have them embiggened anyway. I like to bigify everything so that I can see what's going on. And you can do that here with Logic Pro. So you can go almost like full screen, or at least mostly full screen when you're playing around with your different stuff. So keep that in mind. The one area where it is a little harder is the mixer, because even at like a full screen with the mixer, it's not quite as much space as you got. But weirdly, things are kind of bigger and chunkier, which I don't hate. And especially for tutorials, I think it actually might be slightly better, because I'll be able to show things a bit bigger. And when things like Logic Pro, when they're at that sort of 13-inch screen size, if someone's then watching a tutorial on their phone, it's really hard to see what I'm doing. You can see here, Studio Pianos has been completed. That's good, because I want to use them. So we have the drummer here. So let's just try and make something really complicated really quickly, and I'm just going to get a bit of an idea of how this is going to flow and feel. So we'll just we'll make this 16 bars so we can do a couple of different things. We will come in here to our drummer, and what do we go with? Let's go with the funk rock drummer. We'll go with the funk rock drummer. We will go complex, but not quite so intense. We're going to do a lot of fills and make them pretty complex fills as well. We're going to remove, we'll remove the swing from there. We'll go with, actually, we'll dial in our own manual pattern, because I want like a 4 on the floor pattern. Can we do this? Yeah, like a 4 on the floor pattern like this. Oh no, has it reverted? I unplugged and plugged back in, didn't I? Look at this. You want HDMI, right, boss? No. I want the audio interface like I've wanted every single time I've used an iPad in the last year. And I know at least we have USB-C now. This didn't even used to be possible, because you couldn't do HDMI and audio at the same time. Now at least you can, but boy am I sick of turning off and on. All right. Are you ready now? You ready, boss? That's funky. And let's make it change into a psychedelic rock kit for the next time. Oh no, it's changed that one. All right, here, let's change this to psychedelic. All right, so we've got a couple of different drum parts. It's pretty funky. Cool. Let's just start building something up here. You did notice there was that little tiny pause when I actually changed things up. So this is the sort of thing I'm sort of feeling for to see, is it going to impact your workflow when you're changing things around? On the M2, there were some 1 second pauses when you were changing things, when you were using the session players. That one was maybe a half a second, so maybe might just be in my head, but it felt a bit quicker. The real test will be when we plug this back in, the 2020 iPad Pro, which we will do at some stage soon. Let's grab our bass player, assuming we have our bass player downloaded, and we'll play this along. We need the disco slap, because of course we do. Oh, we've lost it. Why is it not playing? Why it playing nothing? What have I done wrong? That's interesting, isn't it? What if we change it again? Has it not downloaded these yet or something? That's very weird. It was playing it before. That's weirdness, man. Let's just undo it all. Go back to the first one we did. All right. All right. Not playing at all, is it? That's bizarre. Let's just delete it and try again, shall we? It might be to do with these still being downloaded at the time. I could be wrong, but if we just add it back in and play. Go to the indie disco this time. Is it? That's just weird. As soon as I changed the bass type, it went nope, not going to play that anymore. Oop, let's go back and check. Playing there, no problem. So let's just go check our sound library, because maybe it is still downloading some of this stuff. Manage packs. Okay, so it's, see, I said to download all before. Yeah, look, it is. It's still downloading studio basses. There you go. All right, I'll give you leeway. 5.92 gigabytes of studio basses. There you go. It's a massive thing. So let's give it a break, because that was my fault for not having downloaded that, and we'll come back and we'll delete the bass. We'll add that in afterwards. But there you go. I would call that a bug, because obviously there's some studio basses that are under the hood that are like by default, and then some are added when you download studio basses. For it to let you change to it, but then not say, sorry, this isn't installed, I think that's a bug. To be honest, I think that's a bug. Hello, James, Antoine. Hope you are well. All right, let's instead add some keys to here, shall we? Oh, that's the wrong plus button. This plus button. So the keys, our keyboard player has been downloaded. Now, people have said to me, they say, the, just leave this one out this time. They say that every time they use the keyboard, it's just a piano, and some of their songs don't need piano. There we go, there's my bass. Whereas, here's the thing, it's only piano if you want it to be piano. Like, and I know if you change all these up, they'll always be piano. But the thing is, you can actually make them anything. So you can come in here to your instrument patches and you can make them whatever you want. So I actually have been experimenting with using some synth sounds, some electronic synth sounds. Like this 80s fizzy synth. If we add this to it, then you get something really wacky. Oh, hang on, don't have my auto add-on. So you'll notice there, the reason that didn't come across is that if you don't have this button on, you need to drag it across. So if I drag it across like that and drop it on there, then it's going to change the patch to that synth. If I have this on, then each time I tap it, it changes. And it's changing pretty quick. This is a good test, because changing patches can take a little bit of time. And every time I'm changing that patch, in fact, let's play it and change the patch as we go, because this is something that can really test the horsepower. Oh, wow. That's cool. That's kind of cool. So it is changing pretty well. You'll notice that some of these are like monophonic instruments, not going to work so well. What I would probably go with here is something like, I love a bit of an organ sound. So we'll go with the organ, and like a jazz organ. And if we add the jazz organ as a patch here, we get something cool like this. Yeah, and then again, we'll play around with these. We'll change these up as we go. Everything's feeling very snappy, very instantaneous. What mistake did we make there? We had the change patch on. So if we undo this, if you want to change your style but keep your patch, turn your change patch off. So we can change this to broken chords here. Block chords, arpeggiated, simple pad. I kind of like the pad, but here's the cool thing, as you know, if we want this a little higher, we just move our hands. How nuts is that? All right, where's our bass at? Where's your bass at? So if we had a bass, and again, I'm trying to use these AI instruments because I'm trying to put this to as much of a test as I can here. With, in fact, let's go super complex. Let's make it a disco slap bass because I think that'll work nicely with this one. And we'll loop it out all the way. Boom. And what do we get out of the box? All right, on the fly here, I'm just going to turn that down. On the fly here, I'm just going to keep adding things as if I'm like one of those cool creators that loops things as they go. I'm going to add a second drummer session here and just loop this. So we've got this second drummer playing here now. Let's make this a percussionist. Pop. Yeah, look, and am I putting this to any sort of real processing test? Not really. It's not really my bag. And this is my point. I wanted to just show you this briefly to show you that, yes, it's really quick, it's really snappy, it works really well and effectively, but so did the M2 and so does the M1. And I think if you've got an M series iPad right now and you're a GarageBand or a Logic Pro user, you don't need to rush out. You don't need to go and buy yourself the brand new hotness right now. If, however, you're using a 2018 or a 2020 iPad Pro, you may need to upgrade. You may want to look at an M1 or an M2. And that's where I say that the M2 Air is probably your best bet, the thing you want to look at right now. But yes, Thomas says there's absolutely no sweat for the M4. It is absolutely crushing it. And look, I have done. Let's do one before we finish up here. We're going to run a bit late, even though I keep saying I'm gonna be quick these days. I'm not going to run late anymore, and then I run late. Let's do a quick stem splitter because this is definitely one of the big tests of this. So if you're not aware to use the stem splitter, you need at least an M series iPad. So it does not work. I've confirmed it does not work on my iPad 2020. But let's come in here. What are we doing? We need to split screen this stuff. So we're going to tap up the top here. We're going to go to our split view. By the way, if you have any questions, any final questions, please throw them in the chat now because we will be finishing up pretty soon. We'll do a quick final scan in a moment. Let's find, if I go to my audio share folder I've always got, some songs in here. Let's grab this instrument. Oh no, they're instrumentals. Wrong one. Where am I going to find some Studio Live Today folder? We'll have some. Yeah, let's grab some masters here. Let's go with No Apologies. That's got a whole lot of stuff. So we'll drag. Oh, actually, no. First, here's your problem again. Every time you see that cloud icon, it's not on your device. You got to download it. So again, new device, you're going to spend a lot of time doing this. Like you won't have stuff downloaded, but you'll have lots of free space. That's the other part of it. So if we bring this in to our project, don't know why I suddenly said project, we'll convert it to the right sampling rate, and it reckons it's got some information and markers. It doesn't really, but it's nice that it says it does. Let's go full screen on this sucker, and let's do our stem splitter. So this is the stem splitter. You will usually take a few seconds to a minute, averaging around 10 seconds to do this. If we're splitting out the vocals, drums, bass, and guitar, let's hit it and do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About 11 seconds, and there they are. So there's everything. That felt about the same as the M2. So I'm not sure that this is pushing any more of those cores or those processing powers there. But it does a great job. If you haven't played around with this before, you split out all your different tracks. So we've got...
I'm trying too hard just to win.
You got vocals.
But my intentions are wrong.
Drums. Bass. Bit ridiculous, right? And your everything else. This is a great idea, Tom. Rendering in LumaFusion. That could be an excellent test. Maybe I'll do that before the M2 finally goes back to Apple. Maybe I'll do a little LumaFusion test to see the time it takes to render a video, because that will be a cool thing, because I use LumaFusion for all of my video editing. So if we go to LumaFusion, you will see that here is, what is this one? This is one of my recent videos about the percussionist. So electronic drummers here, electronic drummers. So yeah, if you're exporting and a file here, so I do these at 60 frames a second and at the highest resolution here, at 4K resolution, and even at the smallest, but let's just go ultra. Let's just see if it feels pretty quick. That's moving. That's definitely faster. I think it's going to be a good thing. It's going to save me some time with my video rendering process. Yeah, nice. Didn't even think of that, Tom. Good point. It's going to save me some time with the editing process as well. Alrighty, that's going to do it, my friends, for this one. No, I'll check if we've got some final questions. I think I saw one from Emilio there. If you do have a final question, please just throw it here in the chat. Yeah, the new Air looks very decent, and can use the new keyboard as well, which is cool, and has the camera in the right place. Yeah, I think it is the best buy. If I was buying something for myself, and maybe I'll buy myself a 13-inch Air. That's probably in my future. I'll probably get the 13-inch Air next year when it has the M4 and it has last year's guts in it. There's your Apple refurbished store. Tremor Bear, I updated Logic on my M3 MacBook Pro to Max 11. Now when I select instruments, it stalls, crashes, says not enough processor. It has 64. Yeah, no, that's probably just a yeah, that doesn't sound right. Make sure you've done a complete reboot and reinstall. I mean, not reinstall. You shouldn't have to reinstall Logic. Sometimes you do. Maybe you will. There is the reset Logic function that you have that you can try. But yeah, it shouldn't do that. And I think Thomas gave you an idea. Yeah, that's it. Make sure you've done at least a reboot of your computer again, because sometimes that can just flush things out and make things better if there's some weird stuff hanging out in your RAM, especially if you use something like Google Chrome. And look, we all do. I'm using it right now. It's a absolute memory hog. All right. Are the iPad Air M2 will be the sweet spot for audio? Yes, I think so. So look, the M1 is fine. It's a little bit older and doesn't have quite the speed and the performance. So I think the M2 is probably going to be, if you start using lots of plugins and you start using lots of session instruments and using the stem splitter and stuff, I think the M2 will be better. It's a year later than the M1, and the M4 is going to be better than the M2. So I think my now recommendation, I know it seems a bit harsh, doesn't it? My budget recommendation is the 10th gen iPad. I think that's still a pretty good option. Yeah, you don't get the M processor, but if you're using GarageBand on iOS, I think the 10th gen iPad, now that it's got USB-C, is a great option. I think if you want to go up to that next step, anything M1, so either the older iPad Air or the 2 generations ago iPad Pro, and then your kind of sweet spot is going to be that M2, so either a second-hand refurbed M2 iPad Pro or the iPad Air, the new one. And then if money is no object, the M4. And look, you are going to future-proof yourself. It really is just, do you want to pay now or pay later? It's like buy now, pay later, except it's pay now or pay later. So for instance, I could have spent $2,000 instead of $1,000 when I bought my when I bought my Mac, and I would have got a terabyte and I would have got 16 gig of RAM. And it would last me another 2 years. From right now, that would be fine for the next 2 years. The 8 gig of RAM and 256 is not going to be okay for me for the next 2 years. I need to do some other things, and I'm being left behind by the processor. So because I didn't pay $1,000 2 years ago, I now have to probably pay $3,000 now. So that's all it is. It just comes down to sort of the economics of it. Do you have money now? Do you need to save money now? Or do you want to invest now so that you can spend less money later? I don't know. People get up on their high horse about things, but yeah. I'm going to finish off. I deliberately didn't mention this, and I'm not going to go into detail about it. But yeah, our friend, and I use the term loosely, I'm just going to put this on the screen and instantly people go, grrr. If you know who this is, you know who it is, and you know what they've been saying. And I just wanted to say to you and to everyone, yeah, things will come and go. And karma has a way of coming back around. And there's been a couple of things that this particular company has done in the last year. They removed royalty payments to creators that are getting less than 1,000 streams on their songs, so I no longer get paid from them. They released a product that was an in-car device that they then removed the service from and were refusing to give customers their money back, which they've now had to flip-flop on because so many customers got so peeved. And now they've come out and made this very weird and kind of like philosophical statement about, well, music doesn't actually require any effort to create. It's zero cost and zero effort. So therefore, we should just be able to profit from it. Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to get angry because it's like yelling into a void at this point. However, if you're a creator, just choose what you want to do. If you're a consumer, choose what you want to do. There are options out there, folks. YouTube Premium gives you unlimited music, gives you ad-free YouTube, and is an absolute bargain, in my opinion. Just saying. Amazon also do music, as does Apple Music. So you have options, you have things you can do. Vote with your mother-loving feet, people. That's all I'll say about that. All righty. Thanks for being here. I just had to get that off my chest because, yeah, it's, again, I don't, it's fine. You can, if you want to get angry about it, be angry about it. I'll totally allow you to be. But, yeah, it's just the thing. All the CEOs will come out that they live in a different world to you and I, and they don't really understand our world, and they just keep proving it again and again. It's like if they just sat down and kept quiet and made all their billions of dollars, no one would care. But there's something about making lots of money that makes you think that you have to have opinions and that you have to wield your power and that you have to make really weird, random statements. Anyway, on that positive note, I'd love to say thank you for joining me with our live shows over this weekend. I will be back with the podcast, with Your Music Live, and with that special edition. You'll be dumped out there right now, so set yourself a reminder for next week's show, and we'll be talking about all things WWDC. Hopefully, as I said, there'll be a brand new cheap Mac Studio M4 for Pete to buy. Yep, and iPad OS 18 will have amazing file and audio device support. That's all I want. All right, folks, please be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating, and I'll see you next time right here on Go.